Thank you very much, Reflections. Like you mentioned, this is not an elimination match. It is a big game, because if you win it, you do get into the playoffs tomorrow. If you lose, you are knocked down and you have to fight your way through another series to get to that point. So FaZe obviously doesn't want to find themselves in that scenario, but TSM is positioned to do so as we switch on over to Split. And TSM, they pick up the win on that first map, 13-9. It's not exactly a super easy, strong map coming in for TSM, but Split, depending on how things kick off, we could see it snowball very quickly for either team. And we often see that in Split matches. It'll be TSM, though, who's starting on the attack, and that'll make things a little bit more difficult for them.
Yeah. And this is where things have changed again for TSM, right? Going no sentinels on this map. They have a breach at least with Cutler playing as that breach. But what actually you could see that allows for more explosiveness, and that's flashes. Trying to go for this mid control very, very fast, but it's been held out very well by FaZe Clan to start things off from paint shells being thrown by Corey. But now they go through the ropes. They're going to try to move in towards the A side, but it's currently being denied by ZachaREEE. Traded off by Drone at the same time, though, as the spike now picked up by Wardell. It's Marved with 2, but then hazed retaliates. Cannot go for the third kill with the burst of the classic. That leads to Subroza. The lurker was able to push it in towards screens. But as the smoke dissipates, he's going to get spotted. Trying to go for any kills that he can. Connects with the first, and there goes a drive-by bunny hop by BABYBAY. And Subroza's going to fall, and the pistol's going to come in the hands of FaZe.
If that smoke lasts like one more second, Subroza has a lot of information. Not only does he get potentially a free kill, he might be able to spot out the location of Raze as well and isolate a 1v1 there. Doesn't go that direction, and FaZe pick up the pistol here on Split. Huge as well, starting on the defense, not allowing your opponent to get anything going for themselves early.
Let me show you how the boss does it.
But again, the map is still heavily D-sided. It's been that way for the entirety of its creation and inception. Marved picking off hazed. Early start to the round as they again start to work towards B heaven. They're going to be fighting against 2 players waiting as BABYBAY uses the satchel to get away, the blast pack with the paint shells as well. But Drone has picked off BABYBAY. That's going to give them at least something to work with. Rawkus is in a tough spot, has to fight in multiple directions, gets dropped by Subroza, who hits a beautiful shot out of the Sheriff. Now Wardell's got one. He comes right through and gets ripped apart as the burst shot comes in. Now, they don't win the round, but that's actually a great eco coming in from TSM, following up on the pistol. The only thing they bought, I think, was the Sheriff. There was no armor, so that's huge.
Well, a spike plan would be a cherry on a sundae, and they weren't able to get spike plans for 2 rounds in a row there for TSM, so that could have been 600 credits on top of that of what they get, which would have helped them into this round here. But there is also a change in terms of agent composition that, again, didn't get a chance to say for FaZe. They also have a triple duelist set up on their end too, and where I thought, that Corey usually plays as a Raze on different maps, he's actually sticking to the Reyna, while the Raze is currently being used by BABYBAY. This gun round, though, coming in for TSM versus the bonus round, it's still going to be the bonus round that prevails as Rawkus gets the first kill. But you can see so far, every single round, TSM is putting a lot of importance on this mid control, where it's seldomly played passively by FaZe Clan. But because they have these submachine guns, they have to push up a little bit more. So you have this player playing towards the rope. You have him pushing out towards the male side as well. But Drone is trying to keep things alive. But it's going to be the run it back from FaZe. They're traded off. And the information as well that it's open. They're trying to rush into B now, and Rawkus has to hold his ground.
Rawkus back sight. Doesn't really get an opportunity. Wardell gets dropped by Marv, though, who's having a standout performance here in the first buy round. 3 kills already as he gets around Pillar. Hazed there with the pickoff, has to be careful, knows where this final player might be, and hazed finds the 3K. 2 HP surviving for Big Daddy hazed. TSM picks up a huge round in the first buy round.
That's game sense too, because he knew that Marv actually made it around the pillar right here. He sees him make it around the corner, he's not shooting. So he gets the first kill, sees the second one, and he could just think about, okay, is he going to re-peek? No. Gets that second one onto Hell, and when that immediate re-peek didn't happen versus ZachaREEE, then he knew that Marv was going to flank around towards the other side of the default site, and he got the crosshair placement perfectly, despite low HP. You talked about it, Bach, how you liked and how you're impressed of how hazed could actually get these frags, and he continues to do so.
That was just a miscommunication, from FaZe.
Yep.
They didn't time that double peek well. That was the intention, was to have a double peek from both pillar and under ropes, but it doesn't work out that way at all. So it ends up being a peek with a peek, and the delay between the two is just large enough, just large enough, that it gave hazed that opportunity. Now, Subroza, not anticipating BABYBAY to be in that position, standing there the whole time, wondering if he's ever going to look back. As a result, it's a 4-on-4, and they do scoop up a weapon. Now, the B site is empty. They're not playing defense on B at all. They've just got one sitting on the backside of B, calling out the audio that's coming through from the site and letting them know, hey, they're coming this direction. There's a fault line coming out, but there's no one in that position. They do use run it back to get into the site and to go ahead and get that spike plant as well, and Drone will be able to secure it. No, he couldn't get it. He couldn't actually get it. So that almost cost them a little bit more than it should have, but realistically speaking, you know, the equipment and utility for FaZe is not what it needs to be to punish for that. So it will be a 4-on-2, and the spike this time is secured.
You got to thank your stars for TSM. That definitely was an eco round there for FaZe, because that could have been shambled right after when they didn't get that plant. So ZachaREEE at this point just looking for any type of picks that he could get. And the fault line's going to come through. These last two guys only have pistols to work with. And ZachaREEE, we talked about him, the sheriff in town, continues to pop heads with that pistol. And now that they salvage a weapon, that clock is ticking down, but technically with the positions that you have here from TSM, it should be an easy take. But ZachaREEE still manages to get one for his troubles, and that's it. Make it expensive for TSM. The round still comes in for the attacker side. It's tied 2-2. And despite them losing, I think them losing hazed at the beginning of the round here, Bach, was that cue for TSM to say, look, let's just try to rush down towards that B site, because eventually there's a possibility that they think that the stack happened towards the A side from how passively they played and how long it took before they decide to get that kill on to Subroza to start things off.
You know, we praised TSM for how well they played in that second round. We said, hey, they didn't win the round, but they actually did great damage. I got to say the same thing for FaZe. They didn't win the round, but they did great damage, and that's very important on this map. Economic control is huge with the way that this map can spiral out of control. Wardell dodges the curveball enough to get his vision back, so the knives can slice apart his opponent, and they'll upgrade as well by scooping up a rifle. Wardell didn't have a lot of cash coming into this one. He's just trying to get away so desperately as he pops another updraft, takes some damage, and won't get spotted on the cross with some more. The rest of the team is grouping up into B main. The camera's been taken out. That'll initiate or rotate over, and you can see Reyna now starting to shift into position, and Raze as well. They're pulling a lot over towards B. But as I say that, Raze for FaZe, it's back towards the A site.
Yeah, you saw that we had the satchel charge being thrown up high to try to take that cyber cage down, but it didn't. But they still make it through the site, thankfully, because a big smoke came from Omen up towards the heaven side, so hazed allows his teammates to get into the site and to get the spike plant. And with that, now it's a 5 versus 4 for TSM, a 1-man advantage as FaZe trying to fight it back. They put the trap wire to watch the flank so they could really focus on the B side into B. But TSM, look at them. They're not pushing forward. They're, well, with the exception of Subroza, just to try to get the first information. The flank there from Wardell does not commit as he whisks a couple of shots. But Drone still holds his ground towards the back of the site. Big crossfire set up as well from the B main. And that is going to be 3 rounds in for TSM, and an ult available for the Breach into this round as well. That could allow them to go for this explosive take towards B continuously.
While FaZe has played well in the eco, they need to do something with that. So they needed to follow up on that strong eco round with even just a solid loss. I know that's weird to say, but they needed to take down a few players with them if they were going to drop that round to keep that pressure on TSM with the money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. It's not to say it negates the performance and the save that came in a few rounds prior, but it does start to allow TSM to build things back up. So there's the boom bot to lead them in. A nade back as well. Flash going around the corner, but it's a paranoia from backside out of the hands of Rawkus that slows things down. Now, I like this too. This is massive right now.
Exactly.
They know this push is coming this direction. They have the read. And TSM is playing this kind of slow, but that's a big kill. They needed that one on site, and now they can focus back in the other direction, and it makes it a little bit harder for them. BABYBAY does use the showstopper to send a rocket into the site, but taken out by his Raze counterpart. ZachaREEE, unfortunate. It's a great shot onto hazed, but at that distance, it's a dink only. hazed survives with 5 HP. That's one of those come on, man, performances where you're just like, seriously, game? Just like, how much closer did I need to be? Do I need to get out the ruler and start measuring inches here? Because that's a frustrating blow. But regardless, the buy will come in from FaZe, and we'll see what they can do, or whether or not they even try to shift towards the op, and they won't.
Yeah, you really just wanted to try to keep Rawkus alive towards that A side as long as you can to allow your teammates to rotate back from sewers. But the run it back, I think that's within 2 rounds, we already had to run it back from drone available. And that's why TSM played a little bit more slowly. They wanted to use a run it back to try to see if that stack was happening towards the A side. And as there was no stack, it was just an easy open kill for drone and allow the rest of TSM to just storm inside the area. Now, though, with this gun round, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, they needed more stop. They didn't have enough delay because
they only had the smoke. That was pretty much it,
exactly.
Right? So the smoke towards the A ramp. But now that rolling thunder, as we mentioned, that allows them to take this heaven control. There is a bit of information from the trap wire, but they just have to try to hold as much as they can. This time, Rawkus once again cannot hold the site. This time on B, and that allows the plant to come in from Cutler one more time. And you're in a position for FaZe now. Do you want to try to save what you have? You already have BABYBAY committed down towards the hell side. And he gets the first one onto Subroza. This is huge for them for the retake.
I like the way that BABYBAY is using those blast packs to just change position. The flash is coming in, definitely making it a little bit harder. As they try and go for this retake, it's looking promising.
Yes.
They've got themselves in a 2-on-3. That's the pickoff from Wardell. They try to go back and spot the spike, but they're not able to. There's a flash coming out, and it's all on to hazed. Not able to survive. Corey with the big play to win a must-win round for FaZe. Things were starting to get a little out of control, giving TSM that ability to continue piling on rounds. Corey gets his first kill in that round, mind you. This is a player who played so well on Haven. Very aggressive as Reyna, but not able to match that here on the defense on split. But the one kill he has is incredibly important because it gives them that round win. Unfortunately, the money it's not good. You can see what it looks like, the buy coming in. Sheriffs for 2, rifles for the rest. It's less than ideal right now, and they're just juggling guns around trying to figure out what it's going to look like.
And they also had to use 2 of their ultimates for the retake too, the neural theft and to run it back. And even at this round, Corey, we thought it was going to be the kill and the clutch that allows him to come back into this game, but unfortunately gets denied early by an entry by Wardell. But Marved and BABYBAY are still tying their feet on the ground towards the A side. Marved continuing to dance around the sites like he does on both ends since the beginning of this matchup. So him getting off that Omen and switching to the Phoenix, playing it more aggressively, is coming into fruition for FaZe Clan, which allows them to hold down the site, even maintain a spike on the ground on the A side with 3 players now watching it, and Subroza is stuck in a clutch situation.
Good hold here from FaZe. Subroza, he's in the hot seat. Somehow doesn't take damage there. It looked like bullets passed right through it. As he moves into position, though, the Cyber Cage is down, but ZachaREEE doesn't even need it. A crisp shot coming out from the Bulldog is the equalizing round that FaZe needed. They find themselves tied up at 4 apiece. Marved in control of the scoreboard currently for FaZe at 12-6, 10-6 for Wardell, who's got his ult ready and actually decides to purchase anyway. Thought for sure we'd see the pistols come out and just go with the knives, but not going to be the case here.
And as I mentioned before, when TSM was playing a triple duelist for their end on the previous map on Haven, things could be very similar for FaZe Clan as well once they take the attack. They have a great agent composition to flush out corners with the Raze and also be explosive with the Phoenix and the Reyna. And even have individual plays from Corey. When he was playing and lurking quite well on the defender side on Haven, he could very much do something very similar with mid control, solo plays on mid side. But speaking of mid, it's going to be TSM once again adding that pressure on that area. And Corey is going to have to play inside vents, the timing on the peak, and Corey wins it.
Wardell now moving up into the mailroom, wants to deliver some pain to FaZe. Their setup, though, is solid now. Wardell believes he spotted a kneecap and was looking for it. And it's a well-timed peek from ZachaREEE as the nade comes through. Zach finally peeks from balcony and gives more of an advantage here for FaZe, who's starting to solidify on the defense. Now, Wardell and hazed start to fight back and start to find some opportunities here. The spike is pretty far away from that A site where we found some headway made by hazed. Wardell has to go cross map to try to make that happen, and I just don't think it's realistic.
Wow.
So Wardell's actually going to head towards B, and hazed is going to try and fight his way towards that direction.
And that's it, because hazed got that first kill. He's putting all those smokes towards the A side. He's trying to force a rotation. But look at ZachaREEE. He's still holding his ground towards heaven. It's a fake plant. Now he's going to peek out. It's over. Well, he's going to get the spike plant at least, but he's at 30 HP. The paranoid comes through on top of that. He's trying to go for the individual play. The cloudburst is staying inside, now running away. And as it dissipates, he's now spotted with a double peek. And that's a double peek that we wanted there from FaZe. It pays off in dividends this time. They get the defuse and a fifth round onto the board. But as I was trying to mention before, because hazed got that first kill, he went for the execution for the smoke towards heaven, the smokes towards screen. And he's like, please rotate over, because as Wardell was still walking towards Ramen to pick up the spike, there was 30 seconds left. He doesn't want to make any noise. He doesn't want them to let them know that, okay, hazed got the first kill, the second one's running towards mid, so we know where the two players are at, and we could guess where the spike is going to go. So he's forced to walk the whole way, and the closest site for him to go to with the time remaining was that B side. So you want hazed to create that ruckus, force a rotation onto the A side, and that's why you saw him push all the way towards spawn 2, so that eventually he could be the one that's going to be lurking instead, but it doesn't pay off. FaZe Clan doesn't bite into any type of fakes, and they take the lead by 1.
TSM wants to move towards B, where you've got Omen and Cypher. And there's the smoke coming out. One's from Rawkus. That'll allow them to pick up the ult orb. And there's the spray coming out, but they actually continue the push. Run it back was not canceled despite that early damage coming through. It wasn't enough to stop the ult pop by drone. That opens things up on the site and gives them this opportunity. But you've already got FaZe in position. Now there's a great curveball coming out with the ult, and that does see some knives set that direction. Now the spike's going to be planted in just a moment as Wardell dices apart BABYBAY. Marved with another opener, as Marved has been doing time and time again on this retake. He's looking for a target on the site, but it's actually Corey who's trying to spot the head over top of the box. Now Rawkus has done the damage. Drone has run as the blaze walls intersect. They're like making a tic-tac-toe board on the site, and it somehow works out for TSM. They cross streams. I'm told you're not supposed to do that. Ghostbusters 101. But they managed to make it work. And it's a 5-5 tie scoreline as TSM somehow come out on top of that strange exchange on the B site.
Definitely in the point of view of Corey, when you go through a blaze wall and you look back knowing where your opponent is at and you see another blaze wall that intersects into it, you're like, oh my God, are you serious? So unfortunately for him, that type of like taking the 50 to try to get an early kill was that time wasted. I mean, you could look towards the back of the site and maybe get that first kill. If the blaze wall was still up, he might win that second one. It's a guess that he had, and unfortunately, he runs literally into a wall, and it's going to be TSM that takes that round back. So 5-5 here, and Subroza looking to take control towards this B side, where you see some success coming in from TSM from this mid B side control. ZachaREEE, we talked about him in a little bit, how he's able to hold his ground, but with anchored sites, they're trying to switch things out a bit too. From time to time, it's going to be Rawkus playing there. From time to time, it's going to be ZachaREEE. ZachaREEE is holding it into this ground this time, but you see how passively they're being played. They're giving mid for TSM. They have trap wires towards heaven. They have trap wires towards vents, which there you go opens up a weaker side on a hold for a sentinel on B.
The rocket used by BABYBAY, the fuse starts to expire, so it just has descended flying. No damage dealt. There's the rolling thunder to allow them into heaven. Nice low tripwire catches them off guard as they move their way into the site. They do have a chance potentially, but Corey catches drone in an awkward position as he falls into the site.
30 seconds left.
But they back off. They surrender control, and they're going to play for the retake. That's the smart move
Spike planted.
from the defensive side of FaZe.
Out of charges.
Spike's been planted, and we're in 4-on-4 territory. Subroza gets inside dark cover and is waiting to potentially strike. A lot of targets, though, in this area. This is probably not going to work out so well for Subroza, so starts to change positions and ends up being able to pick off one, make it two as well as Subroza spins back. Great move. Corey is there for the ultimate punish as he drops into the smoke. And now there's a flash coming out. Shots coming through as well from Rawkus as Wardell wasn't anticipating the op being in that position. An empty mag results in a reload, and that cost precious seconds on the clock. And it puts Hazed in a position where he finds the round win. 6-5 in favor of TSM. And the money for FaZe coming into this final round is going to be kind of uncomfortable. SMGs, maybe a rifle on Corey, and pistols as well.
Seems as though they're looking to explode towards the A side here for TSM. You do have Hayes looking to maybe put some kind of smoke towards his mid sign. As I mentioned before, on the first half, they've always taken mid controller, taken it enough that FaZe kind of respects him for it. So once you throw that smoke early towards mid sign, then you try to push towards A, but it's going to be Corey that decides to go for the hero play, pushing himself towards the A main, but he's waited and greeted by an operator. And also Rawkus is greeted by a showstopper on the B side. So that's both sides weakened up. They're trying to get some sort of play moving forward. BABYBAY is just rocket jumping across the site and gets the shotgun kill there. But nonetheless, that opens it up. The neural theft also allows FaZe Clan to know that all the players are towards the A side, but look at how much control you have now for TSM. It's just over at this point. Last one at the spawn side, Wardell with the triple into this round, and TSM takes the first half, 7-5.
Switching sides.
TSM playing Valorant, but BABYBAY playing, he's playing Quake. He just goes up into the sky and that or TFC. I mean, he's got the conch jumping down from the medic days for those that are boomer enough like me to remember Team Fortress Classic. 7-5 TSM. They have the 2-round lead. It's important to note that's coming off the attacking side as well. They'll now be switching over to the defense, which will make things a little bit easier for them. That said, we've seen impressive attacking sides from various teams, and I guess honestly, because one of them was TSM. You know, they just played really well on that attacking side, so it's certainly possible that FaZe could fight back and try and force this to a third map, but the odds are certainly against them. They're going to be moving towards B, at least early on. They've got a lot of presence in B main. Subroza uses the bomb bot to peek. Great paranoia, and that's a solid follow-up as well. Catches his blind teammate, or opponent, excuse me, going for the boom bot. Now they're going to try and use what they've got to get out. Good damage coming through as well as they spam through the smoke. Subroza gets one more before being taken down. Hayes doing as much as he can to buy time for Drone to get into position, and now it's all on to Rawkus. It's a 1-on-4. TSM looks to have secured the pistol in the second half.
Quite easily with the last kill too, and you saw the ability of the flashpoint coming out so that they could come up the ropes and even peek towards the rafter. So the synergy is there for TSM for that peek, for that kill, and overall they were able to just hold quite easily that B garage just from the plays of Subroza as that Raze. The paint shells to hold him back, the shots coming through, and even Hayes dancing around the boxes was good enough there to allow even TSM to waste enough time for the other players to rotate back. So FaZe Clan, as much as they want to be explosive and try to catch TSM off guard there, it didn't pay off. They ran into a wall into that round as well, and they're just going to try to change back towards a mid-side control just to try to see how they could feel out TSM's positioning towards his B side. But as I said, TSM now playing defense. One thing that's changed in their composition is that they don't have a Viper that they used with Hayes before, because not having a Sentinel, you can't really have just a Viper holding, especially with an ultimate into B side. You need to have players to rotate around, so you want to change your kit a little bit. But with an Omen towards B side, that's also good enough too.
That's great damage coming out early on as they make their way out on the site. Jump shots for Marved as well. This is problematic. TSM lost way too many resources while they come through on the push. Now Wardell, it takes the full magazine with the Ghost, but they'll get it back under control in time for one more. It does significant damage to another target. Rawkus somehow finds himself now in a 1-on-3. This was looking really good for them, and it quickly fell apart. Rawkus, though, is still in this spot. Goes for the shadow step to get on the other side of Pillar. Spotted out, but it doesn't matter. 65 HP, 9 bullets, and no sound. Rawkus gets rounded on by Cutler, who just continues to press W. And now he'll go ahead and secure the defuse. That's a great round from FaZe. It really is. And it was very winnable for them at one point. It's unfortunate that they don't pick up the round win, but economic damage is important. They're coming into now their first full buy round, and TSM has to spend a lot of money to get back into it themselves. So I don't want to discount what FaZe just did, because despite not losing the round, that is still, very impactful.
Yeah, but you have to give it to the big play by Wardell at that point too with that ghost. Him using his old clip to get the first kill, but still able to dash away and bait out the second player from ZachaREEE that's trying to get that kill up towards B Heaven. That allowed Drone to peek out. He used Drone as a bait as well to get the second kill and even a third moving in. So that single-handedly allowed TSM to just get that round on that retake. It was a heroic attempt as well on that 3 versus 1 that ended on the 1 versus 1 for FaZe Clan. So yes, the econ damage is there. So for both of these teams, this round is actually crucial in the victory.
I will say this too, people are going to look at that round and be like, oh, Cutler finally did something, because they're looking at the scoreboard. But like, the role that Cutler is playing for TSM currently is so incredibly selfless.
Yes.
He is the setup man. It's like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That is the way Cutler plays this game in general, and I've talked about this in the past. Cutler is the wingman. He's the guy to put you in a position to find the big round. And he did so really well for them in that first half. But now he gets his chance to shine in the 1v1 and ends up making it work as well. TSM up 9-5 over FaZe. And right now it's the push towards Heaven that has Wardell backing off. It's great execution to push Wardell out of that position.
30 seconds left.
But Wardell with solid movement to survive.
It opens up A though. So they take ropes to A Heaven, and they have to play passively towards TSM's site at A. A flashpoint to come out, and the first damage coming into ZachaREEE at 60. But Subroza falls towards the screen side on that rotate, so the anchor players have to come up big, and they do with 3 kills, and finally it's opened up. There's only 10 seconds remaining. They'll at least get the plant. But the rotation's going to come through. They've done enough damage, and now you have upper hand positioning, and there you go. Wardell with the verticality gets the kill onto ZachaREEE, who's looking for better positioning towards the elbow side. And as he was trying to put whatever utility he had on the ground, that's going to be canceled out. And Corey's going to be faced on a 2 versus 1. Where we talked about how it was low and not as impactful on this map, has to come up big here, but unfortunately will not. As hazed gets the headshot, and the defuse comes in for Wardell. It's going to be 10-5 for TSM on this map.
That was solid from TSM. I don't know if you noticed it. It's like tiny little things. Wardell makes a few footsteps. It distracts him. He looks up. Ace peaks.
Yeah.
Whether or not that was intentional, I don't know. It could have just been like, hey, time's ticking down. We got to move. No more shifting. No more walking. Let's try and bait these players out of position. But I like the read, regardless if that was the case or not. Like, the way that it works out. It was a good effort. What are you supposed to do in that situation? The positioning for his opponents made it very difficult. It all came down to timing, and unfortunately, the timing doesn't work out so well.
You wanted ZachaREEE to be alive too, unfortunately, right? So
yeah. Losing ZachaREEE on that cross definitely was rough. It was just good positioning from Wardell to get there that quickly. Double-digit rounds for TSM, and they're going to try to punish with some aggressive play in mid. And Subroza does so. No surprise there. Subroza's done this in the past, especially on the last map, getting hyper-aggressive on that defensive side. Very quickly, it gets reduced to 1 player as Drone just starts lining him up. Finding himself 3 on the round. It's 11 on the board for TSM. Just a few away from closing out the series with a 2-0 victory over FaZe Clan. And again, I think it is important. Not an elimination game. Just want to make sure we say that. FaZe will be knocked down into the lower match to fight for 1 more opportunity to make it into the playoffs.
That's right. Maybe you saw that on the last 2 kills that they got towards the A side was a nice combination of Drone with the curveball, and I'm pretty sure it was a flashpoint that came out from Breach as well, from Cutler. And the aggressive play continues from TSM though, and it's going to be towards B main this time. Subroza looking towards the right, but a little bit too late. Couldn't pull onto that trigger. Marv punishes them for it, and they have a 5-on-4 with map control on mid side. Wardell still committed for an aggressive angle, and Corey opens it up.
Drone gonna have a couple of bodies dropping in front of him. Only able to line up 1. That puts everything on Cutler. Cutler actually steps up, finds 2 kills with just a Spectre. And now it's the 1-on-2, and hazed has stepped up big. He's had multiple
planted.
impressive plays already this series. But this is going to be a difficult one.
Definitely seems as though he's just looking for exits at this point. He's going to save it here. Maybe try to creep up a little bit more if he can towards maybe somebody towards Heaven's side. He still has a lot of time to work with those, so it could still be very doable. So as everybody's still rotating and setting up on a pulse plan for FaZe Clan, they're still in great positioning here. hazed is just looking for that damage on the exit. But he's creeping up towards the elbow side. Here's the footsteps moving forward. Will get that first kill, trying to spray onto that second. That actually could have been 2 big kills for TSM, and I don't think he would have had enough time for the defuse no matter what. So really, as you mentioned at the beginning of the half, where you wanted to make things really expensive for TSM, when FaZe was moving into the site, getting 3 or 4 kills out of that, which made it a difficult round for both of these teams, right? It came down to whoever lost that or won that round was going to be able to run away with 2 more rounds after that, and it turned out to be TSM. Well, TSM at that point are trying to make it expensive for FaZe into this round to keep the buy very low on their side.
Spike drop.
11 rounds for TSM, but FaZe is still fighting. Still wanting to put that pressure and still got opportunity. Game's never over. We've seen some crazy comebacks, even during First Strike. And the Nerd Gamers First Strike Open Qualifiers, I think it was Noble who came back from an 11-1.
I think you're talking about the LG and N-Box on
N-Box,
Haven.
that's what it was. It was LG. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So it's certainly possible that it can happen. And by the way, they won 13-11. Like, it didn't go to overtime. They won 12 straight rounds to win that game.
Yeah.
That's just absurd. So no game is ever truly over, and we've seen more than our fair share of impressive comebacks. Hayes is in the backside of sight, spotted by the ult that gives BABYBAY the easy rocket kill onto his opponent, and things are starting to heat up over on the B site. Cutler's still here in position. There's the ult getting popped. That neural theft will give away the position here of Cutler, who's really just trying to slow things down as much as possible. Fault lines and flashes to keep them locked on site. The knives coming out from Wardell, but they've escaped into B main. But the smoke's down, that does leave the player on site kind of alone. And that'll be a quick shot that comes out from Wardell as the knives come through. They've now brought it down to just 1. The promise has disappeared. It's all up to Marved. He has to come through this smoke to try and take that battle, but Wardell is watching it. Great retake coming in from TSM. As solid as the execute was from FaZe, great ult utilization. TSM just gets past them, and I gotta give credit to Cutler there with all of the flash utility that was used, the fault line as well. To keep him glued to pillar, it slowed down the cross, and it allowed his team to get into a better position.
Exactly.
And even still, like, players in B main, if that's what they decided to do, that's an awkward setup with the way the spike was planted.
No, definitely. I think as soon as I saw Wardell back on the screen, or we saw Wardell on the screen where it was at B Heaven and he's already scoped in, I'm like, okay, well, Cutler did a great job, already wasted enough time, and this is going to be such a hard hold for FaZe Clan at that point. And you saw it from the demonstration that he had from the operator and the Blade Storm. This round, though, map and series point for TSM, and you see how the money is low. Thankfully, they were able to get a spike plant to get a little bit of economy on their side. But they have stingers, they have low buys moving in, double stingers, a sheriff on top of that. It's going to be a tough one for them to try to win. But with 4 players taking the mid control, I'm looking to see if they're going to try to pinch back towards the A Heaven side. But Wardell already rotated up there with the operator. It's still going to be very tough here for FaZe.
They have some mid control, and it looks like they want to lean towards A potentially, because you've got Cypher in this position. The problem is Subroza's push. That's going to make it a lot harder. That's going to force them to move faster. Now, because of that kill coming through from B main, they decided to move into Heaven a little bit more. And this is an interesting play. hazed actually pops the ult into Heaven, or into Ropes, excuse me, and now has the backstab on them. So,
wow.
Despite being in a position to potentially put a little bit more hurt on FaZe, decides to go for an audible and move into a better spot. Now, they do end up going back towards A, but not in the manner that we expected. Cutler has just dropped the spike behind their own lines, not behind enemy lines. but they've still got one on the site that they have to contend with. Now, BABYBAY drops out of heaven, still gets hit by the fault line midair because physics. There will be time for them to
10
secure the
seconds
spike,
left.
and it's going to be a 3-on-2.
Spike planted.
Player advantage to TSM.
Subroza took so long to rotate because they still thought that somebody was lurking there towards that sign. And now that he finally meets up, that's okay though, because again, the spike has only been planted. They probably still have another pop flash here from Cutler, and they also have two smokes available from hazed. So they're gonna try attempt this retake, and already one has been smoked out. So ZachaREEE has to force his hand out by pushing out of the smoke. They get 2 kills. It's on that 1 versus 1, and BABYBAY saves it with the headshot onto Cutler and makes it 12-7.
FaZe still fighting, still staying alive. The money, it's not great. It's definitely not great, but
It's around.
it's the same for both teams. It's kind of like, it's just awkward. You know, Wardell's got 2,600. Hayes has 4,000. You're going to see a buy come out from both sides. It's just how well-rounded will it be? TSM, they only need to win 1.
Exactly.
But,
That's what I was
but,
gonna
like,
say.
FaZe is so close to like breaking that money and making this comeback easier. Like if they win this round, TSM's money is just shattered. And then they're at 8 rounds. They can win number 9. They're not that far away from bringing this to overtime. They really aren't.
But that's it. TSM still have 5 rounds to work with to get that money right? So that forced buy, I think it's totally fine here for TSM. A double kill from Cutler. That's going to make things even easier to justify the buy here for TSM in here.
Wardell waiting around the corner with the judge. That's a little bit tough. This is not a great start in the round for FaZe. I mean, we're at the minute mark, and it's a 2-on-4. Solid work from Cutler to reduce the forces down as much as he did. And look at the aggression again over on the B site. They're getting so much information from this. They've got hazed pushed all the way through B main, now rounding into Ramen. They know this is going to be a play towards A. See what they can do, though. Wardell's in
30
position with that
seconds left.
shotgun. BABYBAY is about to come around the corner. The boom bot will go in first. That's actually from the defensive side. Paint shells go out. I love the move. BABYBAY actually gets into ropes.
Player remaining.
You still have to get one across because that's the spike carrier. If that was the spike carrier, that would have been huge. There was an opening there towards the B site, but it looks like
10
it's going to be
seconds left.
curtains for FaZe, as now there's nothing left for BABYBAY to work
Defenders
with. The
win.
rolling thunder helps secure things. TSM take the series as they win the second map 13-7. Great 2-0 win for TSM here to secure a ticket into the playoffs tomorrow.
Bracket very well done from them.